Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a half marathon training recap. I recently did the Cambridge Half Marathon 2 weeks ago. I was supposed to do this video last week and got sidetracked, so at least I'm doing it now. So the aim of this video is to go through my half marathon training, tell you when I started training, recap some of the stats for my training during the time from the start to race day, and go through some of the things that did go well, what didn't go well, and let you know on what is going to be coming up and what I plan to do going forward in the future for future training. So like I said, I did a Cambridge Half Marathon on the 4th of March, that was 2 weeks ago. I started training back in December, so it was at the beginning of December and it was about 16 weeks prior to race day. Typically I don't usually start training at 16 weeks before a race day. I usually start at 12, but it was kind of just convenience. December we were kind of flagging with Christmas coming up, and we thought, well, we better get in the training now just in case something comes up and we can't do it in the new year, so we started early. So December, I've got my stats here, so if you see me looking down it's because I'm reading stats. So I will recap the months leading up to the half marathon, let you know what my average weekly mileage was and how many miles I did each month. So December was 45.3 miles, I did 10 runs during that time, and my average weekly mileage was 10 miles, 10.2. This is obviously low to some people. I'll recap what didn't go so well in my in another section of the video, but that's it for now, so I'll leave the stats somewhere here so you can read them. Then in January it was my highest mileage out of the 3 months I was training for. That was 61.2 miles. I did 11 runs with an average of 13.8 each week. And then in February it was 55.2 miles. I did 9 runs in that time and the weekly average was 13.8. So I will recap things that did go well, what didn't go so well. So we'll get into that like straight away. So things that did go well. First off, I had Philip running all my long runs with me. He typically doesn't run all my long runs, he usually does it by himself. We're quite new to Stamford area, and he wasn't too comfortable going out and doing his long runs on his own, so whilst we were getting used to everything he agreed to do Cambridge Half with me, and we get used to the area, get used to long run routes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he ran with me. He was a major inspiration for most of the long runs. I don't think I'd have been able to do the mileage and the standard of the runs as well if he wasn't there, so that was kind of that. Like I mentioned, I started half marathon training early, so there was double up runs where I'd run 10 miles, and typically in a 12-week period I would go 8, 9, maybe drop to 6 and then go up to 10, 11 and so on, and keep building up the long runs like a mile on each time. With there being so long to go till race day, I doubled up some of the long runs, so I was typically doing like 10 miles, 10 miles. I did 10.5 and 11, and then I think I dropped to 10 again, so I did more long runs during this training cycle than I did during a typical 12-week training cycle that I've done before, so I think that helped out, and I think it got my legs more used to the long distances than I did in previous training, so I think that worked out pretty well for me, and I think I'll carry that on moving forward with half marathon training, where I will start a half marathon training cycle early in order to get in more long runs over that time, so I'm going to keep that up. So the next one was run commutes. So as I mentioned, we are quite new to Stamford. I was typically doing a commute of 5 minutes by car when we lived back in Soham, and since we moved back in, I think it was October, November time, I now have to get to the train to work, so the station is 1.5 miles from the house, so I typically do a run commute to the station, then a tiny run commute to work, and then back up. And in that route is all downhill to the station and then all kind of hefty uphill on the way back. So I definitely think that helps. I think that incorporated I think that the run commutes and the added hill training in that run commute route has helped my stamina and overall running from doing that. I was typically only doing the one run commute a week, but I definitely think it helped. Other than that, I was doing the same route bike commuting, so I have my Brompton and I was bike commuting on the days where I wasn't running. I worked from home on a Friday, so I wasn't doing anything on those days, although I think I did do one run that was during lunchtime on the day that I was at home, but typically I have meetings around lunchtime, so I can't do the run, so I kind of just ended up knocking that on the head and doing like an extra run commute a week or just bike commuting. So obviously the Brompton has smaller wheels, so you have to pedal a bit faster and a bit more than you would usually on a road bike. So I definitely think that the bike commutes have also helped with going uphill on the way back, and that's helped my overall fitness for running. I've also got mentioned down here that obviously during the run commute, if I was sometimes running a bit late, I would have to run faster to the station. So it was kind of like speed training at the same time. With me only doing 1.5 miles, I really had to pick up the pace sometimes in order to get the train. Sometimes I missed it and I had to wait for the next train, but that's a different story. But yeah, the added accidental speed training I think helped. And obviously you would have seen in a previous video that I do run with a bag as well for my run commutes. I take all my work gear when I'm run commuting, so that added weight I think also helped improve my overall fitness. So yeah, all of those were in favour of training. They obviously helped enough for me to be able to get a PB. Then obviously there were some downsides to my training as well. I'm going to mention those, and the next time I go into a training cycle I will try to improve on the things that I've noted down. So the things I have noted down are, I only did 2 runs a week usually. Sometimes I would do 3 and that was at a push, but I'd say for the last 2 months of training I was only running twice a week. That's not great for half marathon training. I mean, it worked, I got the results, but I think I probably could have done better had I added an extra run, even if it was a run commute or just a general 3-miler during the week. I may have got better results, I may not have, I don't know, but 2 runs a week wasn't good enough for me, even though it couldn't be helped, sort of thing. So I would say that was a downside. I think the only reason why training went so well is obviously because of the speed runs on my rush run commutes and the hill training with me biking and on my run commutes. And we did quite a lot of hills. We can't avoid the hills in Stamford. Stamford is quite hilly, and the outer parts of Stamford as well, so even on long runs we couldn't really avoid hills. So I definitely think they worked in my favour, so I suppose I can count those as a positive. Whilst I did mention that Philip was an influence as to a positive side of my training, sometimes I think it could have been a negative. Only from the perspective that I think I need to do more easy runs and slower runs during my training, and during my long runs with me running with Philip and with him being a faster runner, I wasn't taking my long runs as slow as I should have, and I think that the easy runs / slow runs could have made things better. Again, I'm not sure whether they could or couldn't. I'm just saying it from this perspective of what I think could have gone better, and I think having a slower run, even if it was a 3-miler during the week, would have helped, or a recovery run or something like that. So yeah, I'm only judging it on what happened during training. So one of the next things that didn't go so well was that I really lacked on my S&C during training. So if you don't know what S&C is, it's strength and conditioning, so things like stretching, strength, weight training, any type of cross training in between. I didn't do any, or very, very little of. I had a couple of niggles during training. I was having issues with my groin playing up and my hips were really sore towards the end of a long run, and I think doing some sort of S&C in between training would have helped. I did do the occasional bits of stretching here and there, but not as much as I should have. I did start some monthly challenges that were in February, but obviously it would have helped if I would have started those at the beginning of training rather than right at the end. I am continuing to do those now, and I will start to do more focused stretching after I've done my runs to see whether I can try and improve this groin issue. It's not too bad to the point where I can't finish a long run, but it does hurt and kind of hinders the last bit of my run, so I'd like to try and get that out of the way. So yeah, that is something I definitely need to improve on. During my last half marathon training cycles, I was swimming and cycling quite a lot. I think the weather has put off the cycling a bit. I would say I'm a fair weather cyclist, so I did triathlons I did a triathlon last year. I was triathlon training, so I had to do the cycling for that, but it was during the summer. With it being winter, I don't have any winter cycling kit, so we kind of didn't go out cycling, and the only cycling I did was my bike commutes. I was also swimming quite a lot. Back before we moved, I was going a couple of times a week, and I really think that helped, and I think swimming really helps with your breathing as well. And since not going swimming, I have been struggling with my breathing, especially on the hills, so we have joined a pool. We went today, so yippee for that. I was really excited for starting swimming again, but it could have done with being started when we moved and not gone so long without swimming. So that is something that I am going to carry on for my next training cycle. Obviously the next thing would have been the weather. We did have some snow before the half marathon. It actually almost put off the half marathon, and I went without running for a week because we'd been hit pretty bad. And we have had some awful days, and whilst I wouldn't say I'm a fair weather runner, I do go out running in the rain. Sometimes when it's really awful before you even go out, not too bad when I'm out and it starts raining, but if it's absolutely pouring it down, I'm less inclined to want to go running, so sometimes midweek runs were kind of put off, and then I wouldn't actually do them, hence why I only ran twice a week. Then the last pointer to make is probably no fault of my own. I could have done more research into this, but with us being new to the Stamford area, as we started half marathon training, we didn't really know too many routes to do in Stamford with regards to running, and we were quite nervous about getting lost. We did get lost sometimes, and on a long run we got really lost, and we were stuck out in the dark with no lights, and that wasn't great, so that kind of put us off a bit. Now we are obviously used to the routes, so we have no problem with going out anywhere, but that kind of did hinder some of the reason why we didn't go out running by ourselves, and we felt more comfortable going out together, so that's another reason why I only kind of stuck to run commutes and long runs with Philip rather than going out by myself, but that's not a problem now and should improve in the future. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's kind of it for positives and negatives for half marathon. Things could have gone better, things could have been different. I don't know whether it would have improved my times for the half marathon, who knows. The only way I'd know is if I made those improvements and then saw a difference, but I can't complain. I got a 7-minute PB, so I'm really chuffed with how things went based on the training that I did. So yeah, that's kind of it. The last thing I obviously wanted to touch up on was what I have coming up. Now, I don't have any races planned. I don't have any half marathons, no 10Ks, so the initial plan is kind of just to keep the distance in my legs. So the idea is to every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks to do a long run of say 9 miles plus, just to keep that distance in my legs, just in case a half marathon comes up that we really want to do. We are obviously starting swimming, and it's getting to that sort of weather where we are going to start cycling again. Triathlon season will also be coming up soon, so open water swimming starts in April, so we are going to be starting that again, and we'll be starting triathlon training, so you will probably see a combination of swim, cycle and run vlogs, not just running. My channel isn't all about running, it's just it's not the season for triathlon yet, so yeah, more of that sort of content will be coming up. So yeah, like I said, I am going to be keeping the distance in my legs just in case any of that sort of stuff comes up. Then other than that, I'm going to be starting swimming again, which I have. I started swimming today, so I'm going to try and keep that regular and do that a couple of times a week. Open water swimming starts soon, so I'll be doing that as well. Then I want to incorporate some more strength training, so I've, like I said, continued with the challenges that I was doing last month, so I am continuing to do those daily in hopes that I can build some sort of strength. I do also want to start doing kettlebell workouts again, but I think I need to build a bit more strength because the kettlebells I have are a bit too heavy for me at the moment, so I'm going to continue with the bodyweight exercises first and then build up to get back into the kettlebell workouts. So yeah, that's my next plan. Then what else do I have on here? The last thing that I wanted to touch on is obviously to take the time out to stretch. So they're kind of the main points for going forward with training. Doesn't matter whether it's half marathon training or 10K training. We also want to do some park runs, so I might start working on my shorter distance times as well, see whether I can get those down. I think my park run time is still sitting at just under 30 minutes, and I know I'm more than capable of doing more than that, or less than that I should say. So maybe we'll start doing park runs again, so we can have some park run vlogs in there. We haven't done our local park run since we moved, so I will make sure to do a video on that. But yeah, that's kind of it. There were good and bad sides to training, but all in all I got the right result, so I suppose I can't complain. That's it. I kind of just wanted to give you the lowdown of my half marathon training and what I thought of it. I will obviously keep you updated if I book any races. I will continue doing training diaries, so I'll let you know what I'm doing throughout the week. If there's any sort of content that you want to see, then let me know in the comments. If you liked this video and you liked the insight into my training, then give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Like I said, there'll be more running and swimming and cycling content coming to this channel. I really want to put some more focus into the channel and get you some good content out, so yeah. That is it. I have a really dry mouth from talking too much, and this video seems like it's going to be pretty long, so let me know if you've got any races or if you're training for anything currently. Let me know in the comments if you've got anything coming up, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!